Welcome to the show, guys. You've got Rob and Davey here with In Before the Lock. We've got a special show this week. We're going to be talking about all things mods, but also we've got TPF this week, March 15th to 17th, and we've got some special guests with us as well. Jimmy from 86 Pixels. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. How's everybody going? Yeah.
Welcome. Well, we're excited to have you. I know you work on a bunch of awesome mods, and we're going to hear a little bit about that. And we've also got Andy from City Pinball. Andy, how you doing?
How's it going, guys? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Davey, let's do a quick audio check. How you sounding over there?
I think I'm sounding pretty good, but how am I sounding from your end?
Oh, man, you sound great. We've been dealing with technical issues like usual, but we made it happen.
Daylight saving, wasn't it? Daylight saving screwed us up this time. Just snuck in.
The daylight savings definitely got us. Well, guys, we've got a packed show this week. We're going to be talking a little bit about what Andy and Jimmy are up to in their world and what's coming up. I'm noticing another spelling mistake in the third bullet. We're going to be talking about 10 big questions leading up to TPF. So we got some fun topics to cover with that, and then we've got some mods to talk about, so it's going to be exciting to bring on Andy and Jimmy into that conversation. I don't know where to start. Maybe Andy, since you're first up on the docket, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and what you're up to these days in the mod world.
All right, sure. Appreciate that. So, yeah, I'm Andy Sokol with City Pinball down in Titusville, Florida. I think most people probably know me from my 3D start buttons. That was kind of where I think we finally made my mark. So I make all kinds of cool little 3D buttons for, because it's a start button is a common part that's on every game, but they're always boring. They're always the same. So I make kind of, fun stuff like that to customize to go with whatever game you're playing. So that's been a lot of fun. Lately, I always have new start buttons in the works because I always have requests coming in and new games are coming out. So I'm always working on start buttons. But right now I've been doing a lot of stuff for JAWS, as you probably imagine. In fact, I think you talked about a couple of my items on the show here already. But real quick, I'll give you a quick share here and show you some of the stuff I've been working on. Let's see here. I'm going to show this window like so. And you should have me now. Let me know if you got me up.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, so there's my start button and coin rejects with the license plate and the little shooter plate. I collaborated with Flip Mods on that one. There's what they look like on the game. All right, this one's the big one. I know Davey's going to talk this later, but this is my Chumline airball suppressor because this plastic, everybody that's got a JAWS knows that this plastic isn't really supported very well, so it's been flinging airballs up into the back corner. So I kind of made this cool little thing out of TPU. Looks like a batarang here with brass knuckles on it. But this has been really high in demand. I got really good response on this. So anybody who's listening who's waiting on theirs, I'm getting there, I promise.
And you were making that so that, the weird shape of that is so that it follows the chum line on the plastic, doesn't it? So it doesn't cast any shadow.
Right, that's correct, Davey. Yep, yeah, a lot of people were putting stuff under there to try to support it, but it was always casting these shadowy silhouettes on the surface. So yeah, you're right. I designed that weird shape to line up exactly with that line.
It was really
and the
funny
harpoons.
because when you were posting about that in the thread, I was sort of reading through it, and then I was like, and you were talking about the shadows and how to minimize them, and I kind of thought to myself, like, if you followed the chum line and then on the very next post you talked about that exact same thing, and it was amazing then seeing the result of that, because basically it just casts no shadow at all, doesn't it?
Yep, just totally disappears. It's really cool. Let's see what else I'm working on for JAWS. Did the Amity lighthouse in the background there. I've never really liked these flasher bulbs that stick off the back wall. I'm trying to start a whole new line. I've already got one from James Bond that I make, but then when I saw this, I was like, that looks so goofy. So, but it's supposed to be a nice scene. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what would you see in the sky that's a light besides the sun? Because I'm assuming that was supposed to be the sun. And I was like, well, duh, a lighthouse. So I made the lighthouse and got really good response on that one as well. And this thing here, the cast again corrector, Stern's using these little tiny flasher boards with like a single surface mounted LED on there to light up some areas. And some areas it just doesn't light up well. James Bond had an area that was like that. Foo Fighters has an area like that. And this cast again light that's right there in your face, it lights up really poorly. You can kind of see that in the top left. And then, so I made a little clip to hold a 4 LED light from Comet under there. And boom, there you go. Now it's bright and colorful if you want to color. So that's fun. And then Davey, you mentioned this one on your last show. I haven't finished this yet. This is what I'm actively working on in between trying to catch up on all the other orders. I'm trying to finish up this life ring. I've got this version, and I've got another version that's like, where it says Orca on it, like the one in the movie, and that shows up in the game. I'll have a version that also is 45-degree rotated, and it'll be with and without the rope. I thought the rope was fun to be more lifelike, but you'll have lots of options here. So I'm being really picky on the finish on this one, so I'm trying to get it perfect before I start shipping those. So that's what's going on in Rocket City Pinball world.
Awesome. What's your process for getting ready for a game? I mean, I know this one's been rumored for a while. Like, did you have some stuff that you already kind of were actually like prototyping, or did you wait to get the game in hand?
Well, actually, some of the stuff being standard parts, like the start button and the coin rejects, as soon as the rumor came out, I already started thinking about that. Mm-hmm. And, when it kind of became officially confirmed, then I put that into action and got those done. But the other stuff, I got a local friend who has a game. I got a friend who's kind of remote. He got a game early too. So I was checking in with those guys to, say, hey, take pictures of this for me, or hey, pull this out and measure it. And then my game finally arrived too. And that's really when I can really get to work because it's much easier. I don't have to keep bugging people to take measurements.
So jealous.
How many items do you have for Jaws right now?
I think that makes 6. I think there's 6 right now. And then, the life ring will be number 7.
So would you say is that on par for like Foo and where you were with Foo at that point in its life, or you got more than that right now?
Well, I didn't get Foo because there were too many games going on last year, so I ended up getting I had James Bond and then I went straight to Venom, so I skipped over Foo. So I only have like 1 or 2 things for Foo right now. A local friend of mine just got that, so I'm hoping to check that out in person and make some other stuff for it. But probably the other game I have the most stuff for is Rush, because I'm a big Rush fan. So I had to get that game, and I made a lot of really cool stuff for that. A little signals mod with the Dalmatian and a fire hydrant that lights up, and a little light up rabbit coming out of a hat, and the red barchetta mod lights up. So
nice.
It's been a lot of fun.
All right, well let's move on to Jimmy. So Jimmy, are you actually close to Andy? Is that what I was gleaning before the show? Are you guys in the same area?
No, I got out. So I grew up in Central Florida, but now I'm located in Austin, Texas. So
Gotcha. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining. I learned about your stuff through Twilight Zone with the back panel display. I'd love to hear just a little bit about that, because I don't know, I could be wrong, but I know a lot of people know you for that. And then I'd love to hear kind of what you're working on these days. Yeah,
certainly. Yeah. So I've been in the industry now for too long, arguably, right? That's kind of how it goes. Started out primarily as an operating system guy. I was working on games for manufacturers. So I did work on TNA, I did work on Alice Cooper, did work on Rick and Morty, did work on the P3, I've done work on a bunch. Lebowski, all of Haggis's stuff, bunch of stuff like that. Primarily as a systems guy, so I handle all of like the game update code, all of the operating system code. I make it work, they make it fun. That's typically the arrangement. And eventually you get to a point to where the slog becomes a lot, and you're like, all right, how can I turn this into something that's maybe a little bit more sustainable? Because how TNA started was Scott called me on the phone and said, hey, I need an operating system. We hit the line in 4 weeks. Okay, well, gotta go. And that's about as organized as all of the manufacturers are. So it's not just a spooky thing. It's not just a boutique thing. And then that's whenever in 2020, 86 Pixels had gotten into the mod market, and we had changed into our Twilight Zone mod, which was something that we thought was either going to be well received or widely hated type thing. People were going to think, oh, you desecrated a Twilight Zone by putting a screen on it. And truth be told, we needed a bigger build. It sold way more than we thought it was going to sell. And then we took off after that. We said, okay, well, what other games, A, do we have, and B, would have the requisite demand for it? And so that's when we started getting into Tron. And what these displays do is they interact with the game. They're aware of the modes. So every time you start like a light cycle multi-ball, or in Twilight Zone, if you start Spiral, or any of the modes in the game, we have videos that correspond to that. And so we contract with video artists and graphic artists and different things like that in order to create the assets that we need. And then so after that, we had decided to keep it going. And then we released something for Theater Magic, which was the Theater Magic mirror, which basically turns your rear mirror that's over the pop bumpers into a silvered mirror. And that's backed by an LED array because, you got to have LEDs. And then a 7-inch screen that we use to display the various mode content. And, we've got one for just about every mode in the game. And that's done very well. Done very well so much that we're pretty much sold out of everything while we remanufacture all 3 product lines between Twilight Zone and Tron and Theater. And then next up on the docket will be Creature from the Black Lagoon. We've got 2 mods planned for that. Yes, one of them is the swamp screen that everyone's been asking for, but then we've got another one that will be very, very special that we think will go over very well. But while we're waiting on parts, because we're not immune to supplier issues and different things, we're short on CPUs right now. We've got a new product coming out that is, it will compete with an incumbent in the area, but we're adding different functionality. And that new product is actually going to be billed under a different brand name called Pinlights, which are above playfield style lighting, but it's different. So they will be fully interactive with the game, using our same platform that we use for all of our other mods. So you're going to have support for WPC, Stern Sam, Spike 1, Spike 2, and pretty much anything you can guess there. And the price for these light bars will be around $179, shipping included. So that's the goal. But some of the things that we're adding are like tournament mode, for example. You can actually turn off areas of the interactivity if you want something that is not going to flicker. We're introducing minimum brightness. So if you've got a game that turns on and off the GI all the time, you can actually control the minimum brightness so that you don't blind yourself. It'll be very good for tournaments and competitions, which are where we've been testing these. But in addition to that, because it's, this industry is not sustainable if you just make all your products about a race to the bottom in terms of price. So the next thing we're coming out with are aftermarket expression lights for any game, not just Sterns. And you don't need the expression light cavities in order to do it. So if you did buy a Pro and your cabinets aren't routed out for it, we still have an expression light compatible lighting solution that will go over that. And the first game that we're going to release that for is actually Foo Fighters. Davey knows it's because I have one. And we've been working with the esteemed Brad Albright on new expression light art blades for Foo Fighters. And this is a mock-up, so like the Predator characters won't be there, but what artists tend to do
Sesame
is they
Street reference there, mate. Sesame Street aliens on the right.
Yep. And you have Mac and Me. You've got you've got Roger the Alien that's being drawn in. If you look closely, we do have ET represented on the moon, but this is a draft of the art blades that we're working on. So we're gonna come out with art blades and expression light kits for Foo Fighters and a bunch of other games, and we're very excited to kind of see where that goes. And
amazing,
that's kind of where we're at.
What an incredible set of products that is, Jimmy. Very impressive indeed.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, the screen thing is really cool. So would you say that you got negative reaction and then it kind of changed with Twilight Zone, or was it good right away? How did that go?
So it was good right away. We thought it was going to be negative, right? And so we posted pictures and videos of here's what it is. I think I'm going to do this. The price will be somewhere around, at the time it was like $369 and something. And so we launched it, and I bought enough parts to make 20, and then 20 turned into 200, and then 400, and then it got crazy. So yeah, the reception was very positive.
Awesome. Well, check these guys' stuff out. And you guys are both going to be at TPF. Is that the case?
Yeah.
All right. Good deal.
Have
So
you
good.
I mean, obviously, Andy, I think I saw you at TPF maybe last year when I was there with your products, and at Expo too. Were you at Expo, I believe?
Yes, yeah. So last year TPF was my first year there, but I've been at Expo for a couple years now. So
Yeah, sure. And Jimmy, you were at Expo, weren't you, as well?
I was, yeah. I'm at Expo and I'm at every TPF. We won't have a booth, but I'll be around, just playing a lot of pinball and hanging out with people.
Oh, well, that's probably preferable anyway. At least you can have fun and instead of having to sit behind the desk and answer questions about your products. But when are you planning on, Jimmy, when are you planning on sort of making announcements on these new products of yours?
As soon as Apple approves the app review in the iOS App Store, it's just a matter of compliance and conformance and stuff like that. So we've already got all of the parts in-house. We've already got the initial units assembled. I will have units at TPF. They will be on games at TPF. And so we're hitting the ground running. I'm saying within 2 weeks. I know that's the highway quote, but yes, actually 2 weeks.
Yeah, great, man. Well, I look forward to catching up at TPF, and maybe you'll take me on a bit of a round trip and show me what you've done.
I hope so.
Well, congrats on that. I mean, you're not going to have the same experience with this as you had with Twilight Zone. You are going to get some haters. We all know that with lighting. But hey, like I love lighting. I've done my own lighting. Obviously, got pin stadiums. I love to see like something at a different price point, and it sounds like there's going to be some different features there too, as far as interactivity. So super excited to check that out. So TPF is this week. For those who don't know, it's Texas Pinball Fest. It's been going on for quite a long time. I don't know, what is it, maybe 20 years at least? Do you know the number, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's. I think this will be the 21st year, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Very exciting. So this is one of the main shows of the year. It'll be my second time coming, and Davey, I know you've got some people coming with you too as well. So excited to hang out with you guys. And I'm curious, so Jimmy, you've already talked about it. Andy, are you revealing anything new at the show that no one has seen before?
Well, that's a good question, but no, I mean, I try to get stuff out there ahead of time so that people can say, "Ooh, I want that," and then hold one for me. So I've got a bunch of people that have already bought stuff and said, "Hey, set that aside to make sure I get it." So.
Yeah. What about you, Davey? Anything debuting at the show for you?
Unfortunately not, mate. No, I've been working on something for Jaws for a couple of months now. But it's always really difficult over in the UK because, we get our games late. We've only just had our first shipment of pros arrive. And so I'm on for a premium, and so my game isn't even here yet. So actually I've been going back and forth with poor old Joel Engelberth, who does the podcasting thing as well, because he's had a Jaws in hand, and I've been sending him like PDFs, getting him to print those out, put them in game to make sure they fit, and just really medieval stuff like that, basically. But needs must, and so I've been working on something. I'm pretty sure the fit test will be okay, just because of that back and forth that we've been doing. And technically, I've got everything working. But just waiting on the final print. So ideally, I would have loved to have had something to show off at TPF, just to sort of get that hype and to be able to talk to everybody about it and just show it off and enjoy it. But it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So another 2 weeks, I think, before I'll be able to announce and start talking about it. Very
cool. Well, we will be showing off our Conqueror upgrade for Godzilla. This is the add-on to the saucer that has the 4 screens. We did a little teaser on Instagram, but we've got it all lit up. It's going to be awesome. You guys have to come check it out. And then we've got a couple other teaser items coming too. Some of it I'm not totally sure yet if we're going to show it. One of the things I love about TPF is it is a time to have a conversation with people and get feedback on things. Like, we can show it in a way that doesn't get photographs and doesn't get it out there, doesn't get it ridiculed, which sometimes you don't want that feedback too early. So that's one of my favorite things about TPF, is just having real conversations with people about this stuff because we got a ton of fans at the show as far as pinball, which is great. So this is my second TPF, and I did Expo last year. And Davey, I know you were at TPF last year. How about you, Andy and Jimmy? Have you guys been going for a while?
So this is my second time TPF. I've done Expo, I think 3, maybe 4 times if you count the COVID year when I did virtual. And I'm going to PinFest in Allentown for the first time this year. And I've done Southern Fried Gaming Expo 2 or 3 years now. And I've been doing Free Play Florida for a lot of years because I used to do photography as well. In fact, you can see a couple of pictures up on the wall there. So I used to go just with my photography, and then I started getting into the actual mods and been bringing them too. So Free Play I've been doing for a long time. Free Play Florida.
Yeah, this will be my 8th. I think my 8th TPF. Since about 2016, and now before that, Southern Fried Gamer Expo. I lived in Atlanta, and then been to Free Play Florida, been to Expo. So yeah, I've been going to shows since I entered the hobby, at least in about 2008. So looking forward to it. It's going to be bigger than ever.
Nice. So moving on, looking at the chats. So this is a little bit speculative. I mean, we know we're going to see some barbecue. So that's exciting. Which is American Pinball's new game. Barry Ausler. Am I pronouncing that right? Barry Ausler's, I think, Barbecue Fest. Kind of interested to see that one. I mean, I think it's a single level game, if I'm correct. And we saw
ramps.
No, there are ramps. Okay. Haven't looked at it too closely, but be curious to see how that goes. Is there anything else anyone's speculating that we're going to see new at the game?
Well, yesterday there was talk that ABBA is going to be a game that is going to be released. Has anybody else heard this rumor in the last 24 hours? That's apparently the next Pinball Brothers release.
I feel like we're digging deep on themes these days.
A little bit, yeah. Dancing Queen multi-ball doesn't really have a ring to it.
No, but I guess it's in keeping with sort of where they've been sort of headed the last little bit. I mean, I don't know. I mean, have you guys played Queen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I had a good time. I don't think I would buy it, but it was, I don't know. I mean, Queen's good, and I think with the music pins, you really got to be into the music in order to want to own it. But I had fun playing it, so I have no complaints there. Yeah.
Jimmy, what do you think?
It played like a really nice homebrew. I mean, it didn't really do much for me in terms of the theme, but then also just the kinetics and all that. I mean, I didn't really have a connection to the game, but
I'm a big Queen fan. I don't know about buying a pinball machine of them, but I struggled with the art package a little bit. It definitely did not make me like it anymore. I know the one I played had a couple of issues too, which is always tough, and I know that's how it goes. But I mean, look, there's some great stuff from those guys too. So it might have just been how it was. But I don't know, Davey, did you like it or?
Well, look, I had one game on it, and I just happened to, for whatever reason, blow it up on that game. And now I'm not like
the classic story.
Totally. So I was like, I love this game, it's amazing. But yeah, it was like people were waiting behind me, and they were like, looking irritated, like in my peripheral vision. Every time I turn around, they're like, yeah, great, nice one.
Any other new game rumors out there that we know of? I mean, last year we had like 6 new games, so I don't think that's going to happen this year. But
the other thing to keep in mind, Rob. Oh, sorry, Davey, go ahead.
Go on, Andy. Go on.
I was going to say the other thing to keep in mind is games like Labyrinth. I mean, that just came out in October, but a lot of people still haven't seen that yet. I mean, I was lucky enough to be there at Expo when they revealed it, and it's a beautiful game. Very immersive, great world under glass, beautiful sculpts, but a lot of people haven't seen one yet, so that'll still be
absolutely
new. Some people.
And kudos to those guys. I mean, I have a local bar that got theirs, so like they're getting that thing out. I did get to play it. It's a lot of fun. It's a different vibe, which I think is welcome for the community. So definitely, Labyrinth is one that I think a lot of people are going to get to play for the first time. So speaking of, what are you looking forward to playing the most at this show? Andy, how about you?
Okay. Well, for me, there's a homebrew based on the original Saw movie that I'm really looking forward to playing. I'm a big fan of the original movie, not so much the sequels, but I got a message from this guy Austin Kerrigan, who's involved in making this game. It's a rebuild of a Whirlwind with all theme appropriate cabinet and playfield and everything. It looks great, but he had reached out to me to make him a custom start button, so I came up with these really cool ideas. I said, oh yeah, this will be great, let's do it like this. And he's like, no, we want to keep it simpler. So when you play this game, you see it's a really simple start button that I made for him, but it plays in really well with the cabinet design. So I had to say, okay, all right, there's a better idea, I'll do what you want here. But I'm looking forward to seeing that, because again, I like the movie and I'm interested to see how it all ties together in a homebrew game. So
Well, I'm going to sneak in here and probably steal Jimmy's answer. I'm excited to play Motorhead. That's another Brad Albright special. I had no idea he was working on that. And this is, I think it's a homebrew, right? But it's looks really well done.
Yeah.
I think it is single level, which I'm excited about because I'm a big Pulp fan. Was that game built off of anything? That's one thing I'm not sure of. Is it a refresh of anything?
I don't think so.
No, it's a custom. It's a custom layout. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like it could. At first glance, it looks like it could be a retheme, just because it's got the split flippers on the right hand side, but it's not. It's a brand new layout from what I understand.
Very cool.
And it's gonna be getting a lot of attention, I bet. But speaking of homebrews, does anybody know whether 8 Ball Beyond is going to make it?
I haven't heard.
No, I don't know.
Because I missed it at Expo, and I'm absolutely gutted that I did, because it was all anybody was talking about from the homebrew section. I mean, let me preface that. All of the homebrews there were amazing, and I really enjoyed all of them. And, a lot of people put, a huge amount of work into them, and I chatted with all the guys, and they're just incredible creative people. But 8 Ball Beyond was something else at that show, and did get a lot of attention. And unfortunately, I didn't get to play it. So I'm really hoping that it's at TPF and I do get an opportunity to play it, because it looks incredible. But strangely for that game, immediately after Expo, there was kind of radio silence on it. I think the thread, basically the creator of 8 Ball Beyond, wasn't contributing to the thread anymore on Pinside. It was almost as though something had happened, something businessy had happened after Expo in regards to that game. So, if it did get picked up, and I really, really hope that it did, it's possible that, we won't see it again until an announcement gets made.
Jimmy's going to go dark because of ET. His thread's going to die off.
That's it.
How about you, Jimmy? Anything you got an eye on?
To play, I really do want to get some time in on the Princess Bride from Multimorphic. I played it as a Whitewood, but they were still kind of trying to dial in some of the shots and all that kind of stuff. And to Multimorphic's credit, the kinetics on their games just keep getting better and better and better and better and better. So I definitely look forward to that. And this may surprise some. I'm kind of looking forward to getting some game time in on Looney Tunes. I have not I have not gotten any game time in on that. So, kind of looking forward to that. And I can't say anything else because Rob already stole my damn game. So,
well, hey man, you're actually kind of bringing to light. There are some new stuff that most of us, I'm sure, have not played. We've got Looney Tunes. We've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Princess Bride art is awesome. I mean, I think that they nailed it on that one. I'm excited to give that a shot. Have you been involved with that project at all, Jimmy? Or
with respect to the Princess Bride, no. For the most part, all the stuff still runs on the operating system and the platform that I worked on. But Steven and that entire team, they own all of the fun that's in that game. They did it all.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be a good one. All right. So who are you hoping you're going to bump into? And you can have fun with this one if you want. Davey, we'll start with you. Put you on the spot. Anybody you'd like to rub shoulders with?
I've been meaning to meet Scott Denisi for ages, because I'm a massive fanboy, and I reckon I'm just going to get all weak at the knees when I meet him, like a proper fanboy. But I'd love to go and shake his hand. TNA is one of my most favorite games of all time. I just think it's just such a great combination. Every time I say this, I always get like PMs from people that go, "Best game of all time, you must be kidding." Maybe it is one of those games that just sort of splits people. And I know it can be incredibly frustrating too. Whenever we picked it up at tourneys and stuff, people would lament the fact that they got that game because it can be incredibly brutal. But I just think it's such a great combination of brutal, one more game appeal. The music's incredible, really pulls you into the universe that he created, for that game. And it's an unthemed game or a whatever you would, a custom theme, whatever you call it. So I think it's probably one of the only games that's managed to really pull that off, in the last, decade or more. I just think he deserves so much credit for that game. And, I'd like to see more of that kind of game released, to be honest.
Nice. Well, I got to bump into Scott Denisi last TPF, and I just love what he's done, especially from bringing the mod to a whole nother level, the mod scene to another level. So I'd love to get a little bit more time with him, creator of TNA and some other stuff on Multimorphic. I'm sure he'll be there. So looking to track him down. How about you, Jimmy?
Well, this is where I get to pop your balloons because I talked to Scott on Saturday, and unfortunately, he said he's not going to be at TPF.
Oh, no.
He heard that I was going to be stalking him, and so he swerved it.
That was it. That was really it. You should get a letter in the mail soon. But but I assure you, Davey, he's wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful. People say. A person that's that talented, that's not a huge jerk, it's rare. So no, he's great. But who do I hope? I hope to bump into you, Davey. I hope to bump into you, in person.
Yeah. We've been meaning to for ages, haven't we, mate? So we'll definitely have to catch up, have some laughs, have some pinball, and share a beer and do all of that.
Yeah, and Josh Kugler, from American Pinball, but now is working on The Princess Bride. He's going to be there, so I look forward to talking to him. It's been a little bit. And last one, Mark Ritchie. I haven't seen him since we worked on Kingpin, so it'll be really good to catch up with him again.
Nice. Andy, anybody on your dream list?
Well, I mean, one person that I know I would want to bump into, but I won't, is my buddy Mike from Flip Mods. Better come next year, buddy. I was trying to talk him into coming. No, he was actually a customer of mine at first, and then we got to chatting, and we became really good friends over the last year and a half or so, and we still haven't met in person. So I was hoping to see him there. But we're going to go to PinFest together, so hopefully I'll get to meet him there instead. But other folks that I'd like bumping into, one thing that happened last year that was really cool was, last year being my first time at TPF, my friend Frank comes with me and he helps me man the booth, and it's fun hanging out with him. But overall, I'm, kind of like a stranger in a strange pinball land, all these people I've never met before. And I happened to run into a couple of folks from our Florida pinball community there. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Now it's like home again. So I hope I run into people that, are traveling out from Florida that I know, and, some people that I've met there last year. So just the familiar faces are great to see.
Nice. Well, I've got my away from booth sign ready to go. I'm going to be playing a lot of pinball. I've kind of found that, like, to meet people, you got to get out there, and play. I spent a lot of time in line at Expo. I mean, between like Labyrinth and Elton John. So I've got a pretty high tolerance. Are you guys like wait in line type guys, or are you trying to hit it early in the morning?
I'm an early in the morning type guy, right? Like, or like that VIP kind of segment where they kind of close the game hall down, and then like all of the vendors get to go like play stuff.
Apparently, you get invited to celebrity pinball tournaments, so you must be a VIP.
That's like a race to the bottom in terms of notoriety there, but yeah. So yeah, but I'll say like I won't wait in line for more than 10 minutes unless I'm in a group. If I'm in a group and I can kind of chit chat and we all just kind of move through the line together, it's okay. But otherwise, I'll loop around and I'll come back to it later. You gonna be in any lines, Davey?
Yeah, man, I'm all up for a line. Like, when I sort of come over to these shows, like I'm starting to get to know more and more people as I go to more shows. But I'm an Australian living in the UK, going to America for a pin. Like it's just I'm like a fish out of water. So Standing in line by myself doesn't bother me too much because I think for the majority of the show, I'm kind of walking around dazed and confused anyway. I did a lot of lining up at Expo, Labyrinth, and Elton, more so for Elton than anything else. The lines on Elton were insane. But I just kept going back to it. It was a fun game.
So from my experience, Andy is dedicated to his booth. Like, this guy is there. He's ready to show you his stuff. Am I right? Or like, you out there playing?
You're right. No, I was about to say I get really anxious when I leave the booth for too long. So, because I'm there to show my stuff and I want to meet people and talk to people. Like I said, I'm really grateful for my friend Frank who comes with me. So he'll watch the booth when I'm gone. He'll be like, "Hey, Frank, I'm going to run to the bathroom," and he'll get all like, "Oh no, here we go," because that means I'm going to be gone for 45 minutes because I'm going to see a game on the way. Oh, I want to play that. See a game on the way back. I want to play that. So bathroom breaks end up turning into longer affairs. But for the most part, I like to try to be there as much as I can because that's why I'm there to showcase my products and talk to people, and I try to play the games in the after hours when they let the vendors kind of sneak in, and then I don't have to wait in line either. So,
well, one thing that's cool about your booth is you've got something for everybody. So definitely, I'm sure they appreciate learning about all the things that you do and don't have, because I'm sure you have some stuff that can't even make the show. We talked a little bit about homebrews. We've got 8-Ball Deluxe, maybe. We've got Motorhead. I'm sure we're going to see some crazy stuff. Like what I saw at Expo, I didn't even imagine some of that existed. Is there any other titles you guys got an eye on?
Well, in addition to the Saw game that I mentioned before, there was another game at Expo that was so fun. It was called Battle Stations, and it was like a head-to-head. You're facing each other, and you're like kicking the ball, and you gotta hit a pop bumper, and that counts against them. And so that was a lot of fun. I hope something like that makes it out there.
Yeah, that one's got a lot of that TNA kind of like speaker system in it that makes it a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's like Joust meets TNA.
Yep. Jimmy?
Ernie Silverberg's Beavis and Butthead should be there, so I look forward to playing that. I grew up kind of during that era, and it was always on TV, so look forward to doing that. And yeah, we'll see what they bring.
The end of game sequence on that game. The end of game sequence on that game is awesome. Definitely, everyone should check that out. Davey, did you get to play that one?
No, I didn't, mate. I think it was the couple of times that I walked through, it was off or getting set up or something like that. Unfortunately, which just must be a never-ending battle when these guys, take these things to the shows. When they've sort of play tested them at home, but then cop the hiding that these shows give them. So unfortunately, yeah, it was off every time I walked past, but it certainly looked like a really interesting game. Does it have like a roll of toilet paper on the playfield?
It does.
It does. Yeah.
It's a little rough around the edges, but it actually like adds to the experience. I mean, I'm a big fan of it. All right. So we got, what's that?
I said, as long as it's quilted, then I'm okay with it.
All right, we've got 2 more questions, and then we're gonna talk about a couple mods. What are you going to buy at TPF? Anybody got any big purchase plans?
Well, I certainly can't buy a game because I'm going to be flying to and from the show. So game won't work. I'm full up on games anyway. I've got 2 project games sitting over in the corner over there. I don't even have time to get to. But I'm interested to see what other cool mods are out there that I could pick up for games that I have. And I got my usual stuff. I just got my Jaws in about a week or so ago, so I need I got to get a shaker motor and a knocker and some other volume knobs and stuff. So I'm hoping that stuff will be there too. But I'm really interested in what I don't know is going to be there. It might be some cool stuff to pick up.
Yeah. And this show,
go on, Jimmy.
This show, pulled me in, and I'll be buying some buttons for my Foo Fighters and Demolition Man from Rocket City Pinball. And then I always stop by Brad Albright's booth. I usually buy whatever new artwork he's worked on, and I'm kind of hoping he'll have some Motorhead stuff there, but I don't know if they're licensing or whatnot. But he's always got something new to show there, so I look forward to stopping by.
Well, I'm driving down there, and I could always use an extra piece of Invisiglass, so I'm probably picking up some glass, maybe on the cheap. At Expo, they had a big bin of this, like, kind of like slightly damaged or weirdly clouded Invisiglass, and I got one of those. I'm pretty happy with it, so maybe I'll find another deal. Dave, are you gonna fly home with an Invisiglass sheet?
Yeah, easy. I'm just gonna, put it in my carry-on and take it on the plane with me. You'd be surprised, mate. Like all the UK crew have been talking about what they're going to buy and how they're going to get it home and stuff. And Neil, who's one of the fellas that's sort of been going to the shows for quite a while, has been sharing tips on, how to multi-tape toppers together and carry them back on the plane and stuff like that. So we're all chomping at the bit to pick up some, because stuff's expensive over here, and toppers, you can't get them unless somebody does a group buy and gets them over here on their own. So really the only opportunity for us to pick up stuff like that is at shows like this. And now that Stern have been sort of reproducing a lot of these toppers that have been unavailable for ages, it's a really good opportunity to sort of pick them up. So look, maybe some of that stuff. I'd be really hoping that Foo Fighters is going to see a little bit of that action. I'm not sure whether they're going to have anything purchasable this time around, but I'm hoping that we'll at least see the topper and the aftermarket stuff that they've been promising for ages to come through. But yeah, I'll also plan on giving John at Precision Flippers a drop in as well. Lovely guy, John, one of my favourites in the scene. He's always got a smile on his face. And he's always completely knackered by the end of the show because all he does is just chat with people the entire time. Lovely guy, always got time for you, and he produces a great product. So I'll go and pick up multiple sets of his. He machine, for anybody that doesn't know, he produces machined aluminium flippers and flipper bushings for games that have up until recently, and still been sort of a really great solution for games where flippers have been a bit weak. So particularly for JJP titles, pre the recent changes that we've sort of discussed on other shows, precision flippers were the way to improve those games along with flipper fans. So yeah, he's got a great product. They feel really nice. They are really precise, and they just look great in the game. So I'll pick up a couple of sets of those as well, I think.
Very cool. So this last question is my favorite question. I got a very, very high expectations. I'm going to go last at the risk of you guys taking mine. Jimmy, let's start with you. What one game or thing do you dream will be at the show? Anything come to mind?
If you want to talk about dream games or something like that, very rare title, King Kong. I'd definitely like to see one of those at a show. Definitely underappreciated game that Data East had. Yeah, that's one thing that I would definitely like to run into there. I always like seeing things like Big Bang Bars and stuff like that. Some of the rarer stuff. Yeah.
Nice, Davey.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see Big Bang Bar as well, mate. I've never played it. I played it virtually, but never had the opportunity to play one in the flesh. So that would be an amazing thing. But if we're talking about games that don't exist yet, I would love, and it's not going to happen, but I would love Back to the Future to be announced at the show, and to see what direction that's going to go in, and to see whether it's from the supplier the manufacturer that I think it's going to be from. But I'm not drawing a parallel between these two because I don't actually know anything. But I know that Dutch Pinball aren't going to be at the show at TPF. So the word is that they're going to be at Expo. So fingers crossed that is the title that they're working on, because if it is, then I've got very high hopes for it.
Now, I think Wormhole had Big Bang Bar either at TPF or Expo. You must have maybe missed it. So hopefully they'll bring that one back. Yeah, I think that they did. Does anybody remember? Yeah.
Is at the Expo just gone?
Yeah, I think. Well, no, maybe it was TPF. But anyway, there's a slight chance you might get to see it again. Andy, anything you got on your list?
Well, for me, that dream came true. I guess it was about 2 years ago when Ryan McQuaid brought his Sonic the Hedgehog game. I've always thought Sonic would be a perfect pinball game, for a world under glass. I mean, the ball is Sonic, and Ryan did an amazing job on his homebrew there. And, I was getting my kids into vintage Sonic at the time. So like, if that ever went into commercial production, that would have been like an instant buy for me. But Ryan, was really faithful to the original games. And I made him a cool start button to go with it too. But yeah, he did such a great job on that, and I was really thrilled to get to play that at Expo a couple of years ago.
Nice. Yeah, that one came up a lot whenever I kind of started getting back into pinball, and I missed it. Was it at a couple shows? Have you seen it, Jimmy, out and about?
No, I haven't managed to catch it yet.
Okay. Well, hopefully one day. So I just recently learned about this Pinball Circus game from Midway, which I guess is at the Pinball Hall of Fame. Jimmy gives me a little bit of a side look there. Is it not fun?
Okay, so
it looks cool.
It is everything you would love about pinball. It's Rube Goldberg. There's wire forms everywhere. There's seven flippers. There's like 5 different levels and all that kind of stuff. And it's got all of the psychosexual art that we know and love from Python Angelo. So like, the interesting thing about that game was I was involved in the remake, right? And programming it was fun. It was fun, but like getting it all to work on which at the time was Spooky's first board system was kind of a pain. But yeah, it's a fun game. There are some kinetic problems with it that need to be addressed, but what a blast to work on and get to go through all that history.
I didn't know that there was a remake of that. Was it just a one-off remake, or was there some plan for bringing it to market?
There was a plan for reproduction. The problem was once we got it in test, so it made the rounds. It went to Expo and Free Play Florida and a couple other shows. There were some parts where the kinetics were off because if you look at the flippers, they're not symmetrical. So getting that to a point to where it plays like a quote unquote normal pinball machine is kind of difficult, but I hope it gets remade just kind of as the novelty, kind of for what it is, because it is truly.
Are we looking at basically the remake here, or were they both kind of one and the same?
So the one that you've got on screen there is the original.
Okay. And
so that was the one made by Midway. That's at the Pinball Hall of Fame, I believe. That's the one you're looking at. So, yeah, and the one that we made was identical to that.
So where is that now?
The one that we made is currently at Pinball Incorporated. It's in McDonough, Georgia, so just south of Atlanta, at their place. And we made one of them. Oh, so there you go. That was the remake in a very early state. It's before we even put the wheels on it or the elevators. But that remake, we made that, I think, back in 2015. I think was when we did it.
Davey, Andy, are you familiar with this title?
I've heard of it, but I never got to play it.
Yeah, no, I've seen it around. I had no idea. I mean, it's funny, Jimmy. Every time you talk, I'm just like, I mean, how much work have you done, man? It's incredible.
Too much. Too much.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, yeah, I was aware of the title for sure. Had no idea that a remake was made, and certainly didn't know that Jimmy worked on it.
Yeah, the remake was interesting. So due to its kinetic problems, we were going. We knew that we had other things to do. That's James Laughlin. So he was the other partner in Circus Maximus who was working on the remake. And then the other gentleman that you had was Paul Kiefert. And then this is what we did. Kingpin was actually what we did to better subsidize the efforts that were going to be required to make Pinball Circus. So that's whenever they called me a couple of years later, they said, hey, we want to do Kingpin, but the Capcom hardware is no longer made. Can you design a system that'll run the original Kingpin software? And that was what I was brought in to do. So.
And that project is not moving forward, I guess, as of recently announced.
So I'm just about done with what I needed to do on the original Kingpin. And if Circus Maximus needs additional help, they can always call, right? But I don't know where they're at with the, kind of bringing that to production, if you will. I know that there were a couple of things that they needed, like schematics and parts drawings for that they were having issues getting, mostly with respect to the playfield cantilevering system on Capcom cabinets and the flippers themselves. Capcom flipper mechs are slightly different. But that's kind of where that game is at. It's been frozen for, I guess a couple years, but I hope someone makes it. That's my outlook. I hope someone makes it. I will buy one.
And Jimmy, when it comes to remakes like that, you mentioned the Flipper Max. Is it just like non-negotiable that you could use a WPC Flipper like bracket in a Capcom game, or would the risk be that everybody would just flay you for it because it's not being authentic to the original game?
We want them to be as authentic to the original as possible. Of course, we're saying that, and then we put a big old LCD in the back box, which the original didn't have. But ignoring that,
but that'll get sales. So
exactly right. But the Flipper mechs aren't necessarily as important as that playfield cantilevering system that Capcom had. Just the size and the architecture of their playfields, it worked really well with that system, and it doesn't work as well on a Stern or a WPC cabinet system. The other thing is we would still want to stick with single wound duty-driven coils to mimic the feel of Capcom's, because Capcom's was all duty cycled. So with how they run their flippers, at least. So those are more important, I think, than the Flipper mech itself. Flipper mech is a speed bump, but not a roadblock.
Okay. Yeah. So when you say duty cycles, that's more like sort of how a modern flipper system works, in the sense that it doesn't have a hold winding.
Yep. Yeah, they're not dual wound coils, they're single wound, and it's all software at that point, or it's all firmware at that point, and it does affect the feel.
Yeah.
Well, this is important stuff. So many of these games are not feeling right, and it's like, why is it so hard, Jimmy? What's the problem?
Well, it wasn't until last week or last month that JJP discovered capacitors.
So we found big ass capacitors.
Let's start there. Big ass capacitors, despite the fact that we recommended that to JJP back in 2012. That type of thing is just stupid. It's like, great, let's sell a $400 capacitor board. After we sold version 2 of the lighting system for Wizard of Oz to fix the design flaw of, oh, by the way, you can't use WS2812 LEDs underneath the playfield. The reason why I laugh about that is those are things that they were warned about and they just chose to ignore. But now you, consumer, are left paying for that. And that sometimes gets me. But that stuff is definitely important. You go play a WPC game, go play an early JJP game, and certainly now go play a Stern game. They all feel differently. Go play a Capcom game, and you think you're about to launch a ball through the backboard of the game. Just the difference in those flipper mechs, you can definitely feel it.
Well, we might have to dedicate a whole episode to this because I'm certainly fascinated. Our viewer count is going up, so apparently the more technical we get, the more people join the stream.
Really nerdy.
Let's get real nerdy. All right, so we got a couple of mods lined up. We're running out of time a little bit, but Davey, I know you've got some things we want to dive into, so let's move on to mod world.
Sure, man. I might have to cruise through, but all the other guests, feel free to just pitch in and comment as I go through, because I'm just going to sort of stream through because we're getting quite close to the end of our timings. But first and foremost, I mentioned them earlier on the show, but Precision Flippers have just finished work on this new bushing. This is for Jaws. This is for the fishing reel. I think John's also working on an actual machined aluminium reel as well. But this is just the bushing that it sits on, I guess, to make it spin a lot, nicer and stuff. You can see that everybody's quite excited about that. They're upvoting that. And so, I'm definitely going to stop in and pick one of those up for Jaws, along with some flippers as well. Now, we were talking about Motorhead earlier in the show. Actually, let's not show that one because that actually doesn't show anything. But this is the Motorhead pinball that we were referring to earlier, which looks very cool, especially if you're a Motorhead fan. Single level playfield. You can see the split flippers down on the bottom right here. Was it games like Genie that had that back in the solid state days? So we haven't seen those for a long, long time. The other interesting feature of that is we've got these 2 pop bumpers in a really low position on the playfield. So, and the thing about these split flippers is, if nobody's played a game like this before, if you try and cradle up on that lower flipper, it can very easily go through the gap in between the middle of them. And if you're not used to playing a game like that, guaranteed you will make that mistake, because I did. I've done it in a tournament before. Sometimes they'll have like a little rail down here to stop it from happening, but more often than not, they don't. So if you do go and play this game at TPF, don't go cradling up on the right flipper, or at least on the bottom right flipper, because it's just going to go through the gap. But anyway, yeah, that looks amazing. Really excited to play that one, and have a chat, with Rhoda Dave. Do you guys know this? You guys know him? Do you? You mentioning earlier? Yeah. No.
Yeah, I've seen him around. I think he tried to order a game from me at one point in time, but I think he's like in New Zealand, and it was just way far away. But he's been around for a long time. Very, very talented individual.
We know the artist. Brad Albright is the artist.
Oh, he did. I see. Brad Albright.
Yeah.
Got it. That's where I was getting confused. Okay. Yeah. So Tom has just released his mod for Jaws, which is a lighthouse. It goes in the sort of mid-right section of the game, to replace the buoy that's actually in that position at the moment. I think on the Pro, I don't think it's a 3D sculpt, so it's not that big a deal of a replacement. I think on the Premium and LE, it is a 3D sculpt that's there, so a little bit more of a bigger concern, I guess, to those people who are replacing that mod. But yeah, he's done some nice work on that. It's modelled after the lighthouse that's in Jaws itself, and he's got an RGB LED on the inside of that that's hooked into an existing, I think maybe the GI or one of the modes, so that it changes colour depending on what mode you're in. So yeah, nice work on that, Tom. We've got from Cab Custom. He's just sort of, I guess, formally announced his Orca mod, which is a recreation of the famous boat from Jaws. And this only goes in the Pro, goes in the back left corner of the Pro game. A lot of detail on that. He's used a lot of, I think, UV printed acrylic, and then laser cut, and then put that all together. Interestingly, Cab Custom's the same guy who has sort of been working on a bunch of toppers as well. I did have a bunch of photos of a topper that one of my friends in France just installed for James Bond, and that's a nice topper. I'll probably get to that on one of the later shows, but yeah, Cab Custom's been doing some good work. We've got C Arcades, Chris, who's just announced a sign for Jaws to replace the pretty boring sign in the back left of Jaws. So well done, Chris, for jumping on this before I got an opportunity to, because I was going to have a go at that side. But look, I think he's done a really nice job on that. He's always very precise in his design and sculpting work. And he 3D prints all of his stuff at home, but you wouldn't really know it to see it. It's always very clean, usually zero print lines. Look, I think he's done a pretty good job on that, and he's got 28 upvotes, so you can see that people are very excited about that one. So Josh Hardy from Reflex Mods has, I think last show we sort of mentioned this, thinking that it was actually going to be a shooter rod. It's not a shooter rod. It's a replacement for the Pro Shark Head for Bruce in the game. I think he's also thinking about converting this into a premium LE version as well, because I think the sculpt across both the Pro and the premium LE are the same are the same sculpt. Stern used the same sculpt in both ones, just obviously at a different angle. So he'll obviously have a couple of hurdles to overcome with that, making sure that it's strong enough to withstand ball hits. But in terms of sort of the design and the paintwork and stuff, he's done a really fantastic job on that. And I think a lot of people are really excited about that. Obviously, he's going to have a bit of a competition, I suppose, between the ball eating Jaws the ball eater mod and this one. I guess this one will be for the people who don't care about whether the shark eats the ball or not. What else we got? Who's this guy? Who's doing this stuff? Yeah, so we talked a little bit earlier about the chum line fix that Rock City Pinball has done. So on Jaws, now you might be able to help me out a bit with this, Annie. But
so that was the first version that I was first attempting, and it was still kind of casting a little bit of a shadow. So then I modified it later to make the other design. I don't know if that's the one. That one there. This little guy here. So the whole idea was that that plastic isn't supported, so it flex.
Oh, we just lost him.
He got the boot. He got the boot because he wasn't talking about flipper tech. We're all flipper tech around here.
Yeah, I'll take over. So basically Jaws, particularly, at least the early builds of Jaws, had a problem with this chum line where because that plastic that goes over the chum line is essentially unsupported and it's just a piece of acrylic. What was tending to happen was, as the ball was being shot across that chum line, that plastic was flexing. It was then hitting that back lip of the chum line and then launching the ball. It was causing a lot of air balls in the game. Now, it's possible, and this is sort of unconfirmed, but I think Stern may have started shipping a thicker plastic for that section. People with newer build versions aren't reporting air balls like they used to. Now, it'd be interesting to see whether they did actually respond to those problems to fix them. But for anybody experiencing any problems with air balls on Jaws, this is far and away the best solution that anybody's come up with yet.
Very cool.
And I might save the last one for another time, Rob, just because we're going very close to getting over time, aren't we? So let's leave the others for another time.
Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We lost Andy, but Andy, thank you so much for joining the show. We got to see some cool stuff. Jimmy, we got to have you back, man. Like, there's a wealth of knowledge. I don't know if we broke any news here, but you broke some news to me, so that was kind of fun.
Absolutely. We have just an entire show on Flipper Tech.
Yes, definitely. Flipper Tech and pinball drama, they go hand in hand. Davey, are you got anything going on, Jaws, man, or what's going on? Is this something?
Yeah, I do, mate. I do. Yeah, I've got lots. Well, I've got one big one coming that I've been working on for ages, and it's super close, mate. But just not quite ready to. You want to show these things off in the best possible light, don't you? And I've got a vision of how, I want to do the announcement and the release, like the tease and all that kind of stuff. And, it was kind of funny. I think somebody gave Rhoda Dave some stick because he did a teaser for his homebrew. People said, we're doing teasers for homebrews now, are we? And I was like, I kind of like, I see it from his, like, it's just another fun aspect to it. And if you're into sort of that side of things in terms of making videos and like the filming side of it and making sure that you got some nice music that goes along with it and you're teeing up the video and the music. If that's something that interests you, then of course you're going to do a teaser video for these things, because why not? It's another fun aspect to look at and focus on. So yeah, I've got a vision for how I want this thing to be seen for the first time, and I'm just not there yet, mate. So I'm waiting on parts, and once I've got everything dialed in properly, then I'll do it now. So I'm thinking maybe 2 weeks.
Very cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining the show. Jimmy, Davey, Andy, and I all hope to see you guys at TPF. If not, check out our social channels. Check out Texas Pinball Fest on Instagram and Facebook. Will be lots of good stuff. Here's to a great 2024 at TPF. And Jimmy, thanks again for joining us. We've had a great time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys. Signing off.